Hello.
Salutations.
Yeah. Remind me to change that intro. Now he's no longer with us. But hello, everybody. Welcome to Spotlight MUFC or MUFC Spotlight, whichever way you want to say it. I'm perfectly happy with you doing so. I am joined today by the wonderful Irishman, the true red. Even though Ireland is green, he's a true red. Rebel, how are you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Actually, as I was watching that intro and I was watching Sancho at various times during it, I was kind of thinking it's funny how he turned from whiner baby at our club to prime bloody Rivaldo at Chelsea.
It's typical, isn't it? It's typical, mate. It really, really is. But let's just start the show. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We'll spend a quick 5 minutes getting your thoughts. My thoughts were made very, very public on the actual match day. So we'll get your thoughts on the result from the weekend, mate.
Yeah, well, as you know, I was commenting away during that live stream, and a lot of my stuff could not be aired due to its profanity. But it was a disgrace. There's no other way of putting it. We got absolutely served up, carved up. And I want to pick on one man in particular, Marcus Rashford. Van der Van literally had the freedom of the pitch to do what he wanted coming down on the approach to that goal. And all I see is my man, Marcus Rashford, going, "Oh yeah, you're running, are you? Grant, whatever. We'll see you there." Right. I hate to be repeating what I was saying when we had our last manager, but it seems like the United cycle of point manager, signs that there's a path to improvement, keep some of the players that were causing the problems in the dressing room on site because they turned over a new leaf. Things start to get frail. Discipline starts to become an issue. Players now say that the training sessions and whatnot aren't giving them proper preparation for game day. Sack manager. Like, something has, look, whatever what my feelings about Ten Hag, and we'll be getting to that later, something has to stop in this cycle. We cannot continue the cycle of giving troublemakers in our squad more and more chances, because it is beggars belief that they're going to change their spots.
Yeah, a leopard never changes its spots, does it? I mean, going into that, I do have, obviously, people will have seen that a certain ex-coach, good old Benny, has come out and spoke. Obviously, he's not been under an NDA like most managers do. So I've got a little bit here. So when he was questioned about the issue at Manchester United, McCarthy implied that the internal standards were lacking and claimed that only 2 players were fully committed in training. If some of the Manchester United players had what Bruno Fernandes and Diego Dallo have, it would have been easier to achieve good results. So basically, what I'm reading from this, obviously, he did say a lot more than this. This is just the main little snippet that I've took here. So what I'm reading from this is that the players aren't actually giving any effort into, training sessions. And I don't think it takes a miracle or a genius to figure out which players these are. We can look through the United squad. Onana's only been there a year. Benny McCarthy was coaching 2 years. He's been the coach, so we can rule Onana out. De Ligt's only been brought in. Martinez seems like he does a lot. Obviously, Dallo's mentioned there. Mazraoui has only just been brought in. There's quite a lot of new signings. So it limits that pool of players that are being disrupted and not putting the effort in. And once again, Rebel, it's the same names.
Yeah. When you look at it, you're saying, right, Harry Maguire, but funnily enough, I think he's probably the least disruptive. He just isn't what we want for. But Marcus Rashford is always going to be top of that list. I don't think Anthony's attitude is that great, but then he's been benched all season, and we've seen no media reports. So maybe we were wrong about the way that he might be leaking. So when you come down to it, though, you have to question: do they obviously value paychecks more than they do playing for club? Like, we thought getting rid of Scott McTominay was going to fix our midfield. Our midfield hasn't improved, and McTominay's balling in Italy. Now, more power to him. But when I look at Manchester United, I'm kind of thinking Bruno Fernandes in our current system doesn't seem to be on top of things, because we're trying to play this heavy metal, high press, non-stop football. But if you remember correctly, when Bruno played his best football was during Ollie Ball, when we were a quick, fast, counter-attacking team. And those super-duper passes that he's trying to spray were on because you had two wingers absolutely haring down, and you had another person go through the centre. So what you have to ask yourself is, are we trying to play a system that our players at the moment can't play? And there's actually something I want to touch on afterwards is, obviously Bruno Fernandes got a red card during that game against Tottenham Hotspur. We've now seen that ban has been overturned. So what is going on that something that was clearly being a wrong decision to send off Bruno Fernandes at the time has since been overturned? Why aren't VAR officials telling ref to go to the monitor, especially when it comes to a red card? If there's any question of doubt, and there has to be doubt at this stage, he should have been gone to that monitor. So how much of an impact did that have in the game? Because we ended up sacrificing. Who did we sacrifice?
Mainu came off, but he was injured.
He was injured.
I'm trying to think who we brought on. Who did we bring on? Didn't we take Bruno? Mount came on. I can't even remember who we took off, to be fair. I'll find it.
We brought on a defensive midfielder, actually. That was it, wasn't it? When we took off some of our more attacking players, if I remember correctly.
I don't know, because I don't know whether the defensive midfielder swap was because of Mainu, because it both happened at the same time.
Actually, just while you're looking that up, how are you, Mas? Greetings to you over in Canada. Hope your day is going well. As for NFL Fantasy, we're not doing it this year. I'll be honest with you, I had enough on my plate with one league, so I stuck to my money league that I do with people from my hometown. So that's the answer to your question on NFL Fantasy.
Xerxes. We took off Xerxes.
That makes sense. And what I don't get actually as well, speaking of Xerxes, and I want your opinion in this column, Xerxes has said from day dot, I am not an out-and-out striker. He basically even nearly put it on a luminous screen. I'm Bobby Firmino. That's what I do. I link, I pass and move, and then maybe go beyond the striker if that ball is on and put the ball in net. He is not your traditional Harry Kane type striker.
No, he's not. And I completely lost my cool on the watch along, because obviously at the beginning of the game, you can go back and watch it. You can hear that I physically said this, I did turn around and say, we're playing without a striker, because he doesn't consider himself as a striker. He's a false nine. He wants to drop in, pick up the ball and play, just like you said just then. And then when we took him off, I was like, well, great. So we're not playing with any kind of striker now. We didn't have a striker to begin with, but at least Xerxes is up there. Now we brought him off. Fantastic. Now we haven't got a single one. And then Rasmus Højlund came on for Rashford in the 73rd minute, but it was gone. The game was gone by that point.
And can I ask you one last question before we go on to the main topic of the day? What have they done to Garnacho?
Mate, I wish I knew. Honestly, I wish I knew, because whenever he plays, he does something. Something happens when he plays. And I've got no idea what they've done to Garnacho at all. See, he doesn't look the player he is.
Like, if it were up to me, and I want to see if you agree with me here, I'd have Garnacho, Xerxes, and Ahmad in a line behind Rasmus Højlund with the squad as it stands. Put three midfielders in there. Manu, Ugarte, and at this stage it looks like Ericsson is probably the best option for 50, 55 minutes. Have that as your starting midfield, and then your back four is your back four. And I think at this stage we have to kind of say Luke Shaw is cracked. We need a left back, and have Dallo, Dane, and Mazwari covering the right, and where necessary, then obviously shove Dallo over to the left if he's needed over there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the latest report about Luke Shaw is he's going to be out for even longer now. So we're not going to see him until not this international break, but the one after now. So, yeah, we've got no left back at all. But, I mean, I agree. I think we should be playing Rasmus up top, Xerxes in behind him, Garnacho, Ahmad, and then obviously Manu, Ugarte defending. I mean, Ericsson, like you said, but Ericsson would have to play behind Rasmus. I don't think I don't like Ericsson playing the deeper role.
Well, technically, Ericsson would be playing in front of the two and in behind Xerxes, who would be behind Highland in that situation.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I mean, our midfield gets run through anyway. I don't think compacting it's going to make anything better, to be fair. I think I'd like to see Ericsson play as the 10 because he's got the capability of doing so. We've seen him. His passes are pinpoint when he's on it, and then we're giving Xerxes a bit of a rest, and then we can bring Xerxes on later on in the game so he's fresh, then you got a bit of pace and energy. I just don't understand, and it kind of leads into obviously the next topic, which is about Ten Hag. I don't understand Ten Hag's in-game management. Yeah, Moss is saying here Rashford looks disinterested. What does Man U do to young great players? They seem to fall apart here. Do you know what, Moss? I don't even think this is on Man United. I think Rashford is more focused on doing everything apart from playing football at the minute. He's done a lot for charity, which I respect him for and everything, but it seems like that's taken all of his focus. Like I brought up the thing earlier, Benny McCarthy didn't mention Marcus Rashford as being one of the players that actually trains hard. He puts no effort in, which is, again, a massive issue.
Interestingly, there is one thing that Manchester United did that probably didn't help Marcus Rashford. He had one good season after a period of meh seasons. We turned around and we offered him an obscene contract. And it's very easy to kind of lean back, rest on your laurels when you've got the Wanga. Like we've seen this summer when we were trying to move on players, they were kind of going, well, why would I go down to Chelsea or go to Galatasaray or go to wherever when I can sit in my hoop over in Old Trafford and get 100 grand more and not have to put in a dime of effort? So I think we're seeing some of the problems of the old regime still kind of haunt us with those bumper contracts that were never, ever a good idea.
No, they were never a good idea at all. I mean, I was doing a little bit of research earlier, and like Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, Maguire, and Rashford, their wages per year add up to £56 million. That's 4 players.
That's obscene.
We shouldn't be paying that much for 4 players, That there is another good, young, decent defender, a left back, or possibly a backup striker or something like that. £56 million could have gone in for Ivan Toney.
Here's the way I look at it. There should be one player, maybe that's a marquee player, that you say, right, in order to keep him, we're going to pay him money. So you're Messi or you're Ronaldo. If someone that's giving you that level of goal-winning, match-winning possibilities, I'd say, right, I'll pay him. So if we went out and say got Camavinga tomorrow, we'd have to pay him, but nobody else would be going on Camavinga wages. That should be, you're kind of going, you're our elite star. If we feel you're not fit, we'll move you on because the elite star is going to get his elite money elsewhere anyway. But you pay your Marcus Rashards and your squad level players in the 100 to 180,000 mark. You do not pay them 250, 300,000.
No, you don't. I mean, obviously, Moss, big up to Moss putting all the chats in, mate. He's saying, obviously, about the young players falling apart and dying. He's saying, but look how many examples of United young players dying out there. He's put Gomez on England and ripping it up at Lille. But to be fair, you know, French league's not massively difficult. Sancho, Donny van de Beek. I'm really upset about Donny van de Beek, to be fair. I really liked him when we signed him. Rashford, McTominay, so many abused and die out there. Something wrong. Don't ruin Menu, Ahmad to Garnacho and Pelestri. I don't think it's a case of Manchester United ruining those players at all. I think it's the toxicity from certain squad members dragging them down. And I think that's the issue. I mean, we see, you know, the best players for us this season is Garnacho, Ahmad, Menu.
Yep.
They're our best players. And they're our youngest players. You know, the likes of Marcus Rashford, who's been here, you know, for God knows how long now and is classed as a senior player. And, you know, Bruno Fernandes and, you know, you Luke Shaws. I know he's not been playing because he's been out injured since like a prehistoric age when dinosaurs were walking about. But these players need to step up. We can't be relying on kids. You know, they always say you can't win anything with kids. I mean, it's kind of true when nobody else is working around them.
Actually, interestingly, speaking of kids, I would be interested to get Master's view on young Chido Obi Martin, who's now a Manchester United player. The rumour is that when we signed him, that the thing that swung it for him is that there'd be opportunities given to him within the first team this season. So he's obviously been confirmed during the week as a Manchester United player after the compensation packages were sorted out. I'd like to know what Moss thought of him while he was an Arsenal player. And Colm, how soon do you risk him? Because we obviously had a young man by the name of Wayne Rooney that was kind of hitting his just early 17 years of age when he exploded onto Premier League. Is this guy good enough to be exposed to big matches at barely 17 years of age?
I mean, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I think that's the old saying, isn't it? I can't say I actually know too much about him at all, to be fair. You know, it's not somebody that I've had proper instant, like properly researched or anything. It is somebody I'm going to have a look at. I hope, obviously, Moss and whoever else is in here that knows about this lad can give us a bit of an insight. 'Cause, you know, I'd appreciate that. But yeah, if he's good enough, why not? Why not play him? You know, I think we should start him off on cup games. You know, give him some game time there. And if he progresses well in them and manages to cope, why not throw him at first team? You know, we need something. So maybe he will help kickstart something. I just don't know.
Interestingly, Kone, the African striker, is also rumoured to be getting some first team exposure this year, because I was looking at some of his highlights and it seems like he knows how to read a pitch. Again, now you're coming up in trip going into Premier League football or against English teams in your league or FA Cups, but there's signs there that he has a bit about him in terms of the mental awareness on the pitch.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know the deals didn't get done till late. I was kind of hoping that I'd see a couple of them against Doncaster Rovers, because obviously the under-21s team played. So I'm hoping I'm going to see, but I don't think any of them actually did play, unfortunately. So, but I mean, yeah, our youth system is bringing up and developing very, very good players. I mean, I had a conversation with one of my work colleagues about this. He's a Manchester United fan as well. You know, there's something seriously wrong with the first team, because the under-18s are doing well. You know, the under-21s are doing well. And it's the men's first team that seems to be basically, and pardon my French, you know, they're shitting themselves every single week. They've got diarrhea every single week. Is that attitude? Is that coaching? Is that them not understanding Ten Hag's system, not wanting to play for Ten Hag? What do you think it actually is? Because surely Ten Hag's way of play football goes all the way down.
Well, let's call it spade a spade. Ten Hag's way of football is probably the modern way of football, or at least a variant of it. And I actually had this conversation with a Chelsea fan because, as you know, Chelsea had similar issues with their dressing room and whatnot over the last couple of years. And he said, when you look at Chelsea's transfer business over that period, they were adding 3 and 4 players that had seemingly good attitudes, were hard workers, were scheme fits, and all the X's and O's and I's and whatever was dotted and crossed. But what was not happening was the poison was never getting sold. So these lads were coming in, and as you know, when you're exposed to a poison, eventually the poison will take hold of you, and you become what you've been inhaling for the last 6-7 months inside in camp or on team days, going to away matches or whatever. So I'm wondering, is Manchester United Football Club maintaining some of that poison, some of that cancer that has, I suppose, held it back over the years, and that a true cleansing is still needed because we still have a problem upstairs that will take a while to resolve. That's a separate issue. But I think that problem, to an extent, is in that squad because a lot of them are hanging around and threw multiple managers under bus when the going got tough. So I'm wondering, until that poison is cleared, how soon can Manchester United really start the road to recovery?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, we'll go into our thoughts on Ten Hag properly in a second, because obviously, I'll go into that in a minute. Do you think that if we decide to get rid of the likes of Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, Luke Shaw, these players, we always see an actual progression and a change? Because it seems to be like, these leaks are coming out again. It always seems to be the English players that are doing it. Because I've not heard anything saying anything about any of like Dalot or anybody like that actually leaking. It always seems to be the English ones. So if we remove those players, which quote unquote, don't actually quote me, but seem to be the toxic players, will we actually improve? And will we see Ten Hag actually manage to keep his position? I know we're going to go into that in a minute because it's very unlikely, but are they the problem?
I think Manchester United fans and the media don't put enough spotlight on players. And again, as you said, we will go into Ten Hag in a minute as a separate item. But that squad have gotten away with murder from the media over the years. I know now Rio Ferdinand has faffed on every now and again because Rio likes to be Rio and put his name in the spotlight. But there's a lot of problems in that squad that need to be cut from the root and removed from Old Trafford. You named a few names there. Will that solve the problem? Not on its own. Because there's probably a few players now that have been embedded with them so long that the culture is probably steeped into them, and it might be hard to get a tune out of them after prolonged exposure to that. Similarly speaking, there's probably a skill set lack in some of the positions that would need to be sorted on top of the cull. So what you're talking about is an extensive rebuild. And I hate using that word after £1 billion or whatever over the last 12 years, 400 million under Erik Ten Hag. The fact that we're talking about rebuild is laughable, but it's probably the reality. Like, our stadium is falling apart, our squad is falling apart, and our manager, I'll let you kick the ball off on that one.
Well, God. Everybody knows my opinions on Ten Hag. Yes, he can win trophies. We've seen he can win trophies, which is great. Everybody wants to win a trophy. But my issue with Ten Hag is he's a cup manager. That's what it seems to be. I mean, I know he's won the Eredivisie and stuff like that, but he seems to be a cup manager in England. We've won an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we did keep him, we'd win some sort of trophy this year, you know, and then it's 3-3. But when it comes to league games, and he has to do it over an extended period of time, it's not just a one-game knockout thing. We've seen it in the Europa League. You know, that's this new format. It's a league format. Ten Hag seems to shit the bed. You know, he's tactically in-game doesn't seem to have a plan B or a plan C. You know, he never brings off certain players. I mean, I was absolutely shocked when he brought Rashford off the other day because he barely takes him off. Bruno Fernandes plays every single game. He needs a rest. I just don't understand Erik ten Hag's tactics or in-game management. I just don't think he has any. Not well, I know he does, but I don't think he has any to the level that we need it to be for the Premier League.
I suppose with respect to the Eredivisie, when you're playing there, the worst team in the Eredivisie is probably the equivalent of a Doncaster as opposed to going down to play Southampton in their ground or playing Wolves in their ground. The quality of the so-called bad teams in the Premier League is much higher than the crap teams, would say, in the Eredivisie. You're probably looking at maybe a span of 2 or 3 divisions between your Ajaxes and your PSVs and your 20s and whatever's down the bottom of that league. So you get away with stuff in those leagues. Like if he was probably managing Paris Saint-Germain, sure he could probably just point at 11 people and go, "Yeah, you go out there, you play," and he'd probably get a result because there's a vast difference between the top level and the bottom level. But in England, you got Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Arsenal, Tottenham, all those
Villa.
rival clubs, we'll say. But then your Newcastles, your West Hams, and all these other teams, your Fulhams, they can all turn you over, every single one of them. And you have to be prepared and set in your squad that you're able to take on those teams week in, week out. And Erik ten Hag, unfortunately, thus far has shown that he's not capable of preparing his squad for that. Now, you can give him a hall pass on certain transfers and overpaying for certain players, but at the same time, he still had the players delivered to him.
Yep.
Whether they came to us by paying too much and giving them too much in a contract, he got the players that he was after. He was reunited with Onana. He got Anthony. Yeah, obviously he took Eriksen on a free. He got in Hoyland. And to be honest with you, what we've done to that young fella is actually deplorable because he was coming in from Atlanta, obviously with a lot of, oh, this guy's going to be great. But he came in and was expected to get us 20, 25 goals in his first season. And the quality of ball he was getting, jeez, I'd say you and me could probably deliver a better ball to him.
Oh, really, 100%. I'm a goalkeeper, I probably could. But again, you know, I mean, last season, the first season, obviously we can give him a pass because, you know, it's the first season. He has to get used to it. The second season, we're expecting a little bit more. But again, you can look at it and be like, okay, but he's still got a lot of, you know, Solskjaer's, Van Gaal's, you know, all these kind of managers, Mourinho, still got a lot of those players. This season, I mean, I'm just looking at the team. Onana's his player. Mazraoui's his player. De Ligt's his player. I think Martinez was brought in before.
The Butcher came in.
Or no, it was his first season, wasn't it, the Butcher?
First season, yeah.
So that's his. Obviously, Dalot was there before. Mainu, he gave the chance to, but I'm not going to say it's his. Agate's his. Xerxes his. Mount's his. Eriksen's his. And Hoyland's his. And I think, is Casemiro his as well?
Casemiro's his.
Yeah. 10 players that are his. And he's still not being able to get a tune out of it.
And he had Mainu, Garnacho, Ahmad, all that were pretty much uncontaminated.
Yeah.
from the previous regimes, so they were there to mold in his liking.
And it's still not working.
And we forgot about Anthony.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and it's because he never bloody plays. You know, he never plays. I don't understand why we've kept hold of Anthony at all. I mean, he barely plays at all. He's soaking up money that we could use to. We could have bought a left back. You know, I mean, Luke Shaw's out for God knows how long. I know Malasia's close to getting back, but I'm still not sold on Malasia.
Well, the only thing about Malasia is at least he was cheap, and if we lose him, it's like whatever. Okay, we took a dart. He got an unfortunate injury. We just need to write him off.
It just annoys me so much because, I mean, like I'm not gonna lie. You know, Solskjaer ball wasn't fantastic, but we were getting results. And obviously now it seems like Ten Hag's got 2 games. I mean, we were here not so long ago. To be fair, Rebel, talking about Ten Hag and 2 games. But, I mean, it couldn't be a worse 2 games for him to actually try and win. Porto away and Villa away.
There's 2 players that I'm holding in my hand right here. One is Anthony, and you can't see it with the screensaver, and one is Paul Pogba. Have you noticed that there's a trend that whenever we get these big money signings, because he costs us a lot of money, and he costs us a lot of money, that we've yet to see one of them really and sustainably shoot the lights out.
But yeah, this is true. And I mean, like, the other thing that, because obviously, you know, I speak to Dermo and everybody over at the THFC group. Why did Ten Hag not go for Van der Ven? He's a Dutch player. You know, is by far probably the fastest centre back in the Premier League. Ten Hag must have knew about him beforehand. Why have we not gone for a caliber of that? Why are we going? Why did it take so long for us to bring De Ligt in? You know, we had to play with Lindelof, Maguire, and Evans,
which is crazy.
I understand, obviously, he doesn't get every player he wants, but it seems to be like he's asking for players and he's getting them. And
I would agree.
It's I don't understand whether it's the players or whether it's him, but surely he should have the motivation to get these players up for a game.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. But you know, though, when you're a professional footballer, you shouldn't need to be motivated. You should just need to be prepared. Your motivation is you're getting paid vast amounts of money to play professional football, and you're wearing a jersey that every single fan in that stadium adores and loves, and it is on you to perform to the best of your abilities on the day. Now, if you lose, you lose. You know, it's a game of winning and losing and drawing. It's going to happen. But we shouldn't be kind of going out there looking at it and kind of going, player A, you don't give a continental hoot, do you?
Well, I mean, I've got a little something here. This was posted today, actually. It's Ten Hag. Obviously, about tomorrow and the defeat against Spurs. So he says, of course, there's always a new game. There will always be a new day, and it's obvious. You have to learn as a team. It can't happen 4 days twice, because it happened against FC20 as well, that the defender of the opponent can dribble through the whole park without being stopped. Then things are impossible at top football. You can't make such mistakes. So definitely, we have to address this, but we will bounce back. I'm fed up of hearing that, but by the way, we'll bounce back. I think he said it about 17 times already this season. I think we all made, in togetherness, this decision to stay together as an ownership and a leader group in the summer. Also, we made the decision from a clear review what we have to improve on as an organisation, how we want to construct a squad, and that they're all decision-making in togetherness.
I'm sorry, no, but I don't. And again, I don't know what your opinion is, but if you're going out there saying we made a decision together to stay together, That's not the wording of a manager that has the full backing of the top brass. Like, when you boil down to the nitty-gritty of it, Manchester United Football Club quite openly interviewed and spoke to other managers during summer transfer window. It is clear that he wasn't Sir Jim's and Ineos's ideal candidate, and for whatever reason, for a reason that we'll never know, he ended up having some sort of a rejig in his contract and signing a new deal so that they'd show a united front, and he was put out in front of the cameras again for this season. I don't believe that he is being genuine in his post-match conferences at this point. I think he's spinning party lines. I think he's a man that is probably dangling over the edge of a pier with some cement boots on his feet, because if you have the backing of your management board, you're going to go out, you're going to talk about the game, you're going to say, no, I need to go into the lads and we need to evaluate what went wrong today. You're going to talk about your performance on pitch, your preparations maybe might come into it for a game, but you're not going to invoke the leadership. And he's doing it constantly now. So it's clear he doesn't have the backing.
It carries on, and I think this is going to really please you, mate. Really going to please you. So it carries on to say, we also knew it would take some time because of how the transfer window went. Players coming in late, such as Agate. We have to integrate him. And we've also had to make some improvements in organisation. We still have to deal with injuries as well. I think we will get better and we will get there. We need time. We are all on one page, one boat together. The ownership, the leader group, the staff and the players as a group. I don't have any concerns.
I'd just like to say bullshit on dealing with injuries. The only person that's really missing at this point is Luke Shaw. Other than that, he pretty much had his strongest 11 available to him. Now, granted, you might say Rasmus might be another week or two from being fully up to speed, but he's available. And he could have used him should he have chosen. So I can call complete and utter hogwash and codswallop on that statement. As for Ugarte, he was over in Copa, was it Copa America, whatever
Copa
competition
America,
that he was playing in. And he was balling. And in the game against Tottenham, for whatever reason, because of whatever we're doing, we made him look like prime Jibba Jimba.
Oh God!
I have to you have to question Eric. Now, Manchester United Football Club have completely changed its backroom team. So you'd wonder, obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy, Manchester United legend, goal scorer, serial winner. We have the former Go Ahead Eagles manager also took a demotion to take an assistant role. Now, without stating the obvious here, have we got Brutus and Cassius looking at Caesar and getting ready to knife him in the back?
It's going to be a long season, Rebel.
But I'm going to get my last moan out on Eric Ten Hag. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt start of the season. He was put in for the role. He signed his new contract. And I was saying, okay, we're going in this to this. And we had a relatively decent transfer window. Obviously, we were unlucky that we lost Euro in that stupid friendly against Arsenal. But other than that, the players that came in, you would have said, yeah, it's a relatively decent window. But we look worse than we did last year. We have now got a -3 goal difference. We've only scored 5 goals in the opening fixtures of this Premier League season. We look more akin to trying to survive than we do fighting for Champions League football. And at some point, you're going to have to say, where do we draw a line in the sand and say the slide is enough, and it's time to just panis the situation. And whether it's appointing the two lads as co-managers while you're engaging in trying to find somebody else, or whether it's a case of you're saying, right, lads, Rudd, go ahead, Eagles, dude, you're in charge until the end of the season. Your target is now to make sure that we finish in the top 6, that we don't embarrass ourselves during the season, because if Tottenham Hotspur, a team that have won the same amount of trophies as Ten Hag in the last 30 years, are absolutely humbling and serving you up without their best player, Heung-min Son, what are we going to do when the cyborg is battering down our doors? When we have Mo Salah dancing around Anfield?
But well, we saw what happened when we had Mo Salah dancing. You know, we got absolutely humiliated again. I mean, it's so difficult because I wanted Ten Hag to work. We've been through a lot. You know, a lot of managers. This is going to be 6 now. But I mean, the stats you can't defend the stats. You know, we've conceded 3 or more goals 23 times since Ten Hag has taken over. That's massive. You can't do that in the Premier League. You get punished for making mistakes that lead to goals in the Premier League. Even the slightest mistake, being 1 second late to a challenge can cost you the game. And it's just becoming a massive issue. Well, I think we'll leave it there because we could literally go on for hours and hours and hours about it. But we have got a game tomorrow, and then we play Villa on Sunday. What are you expecting over the next 2 games?
Porto tomorrow. I fear for us because I'm not sure how much you can do between Sunday and today, basically, to prepare a team to take on European competition. Like, we should be beating Porto. But given what I've seen, that's not something that we can take for granted. And maybe we'd scrape a 1-goal win. As for Villa, they're currently in Champions League play as we speak. And when you look at that squad and you look how connected they are, Ollie Watkins could potentially go ham on us. Especially if our midfield isn't helping out our defenders. Because you need everyone doing their bit. Like, it's grand having the 2 best centre-backs, we'll say, in the world. They get you out of so much trouble. No, I'm not saying that our 2 centre-backs is the best centre-backs in the world, don't get me wrong. But if they're constantly having people coming at them, eventually, like every human being, they're going to make a mistake. And that mistake is going to lead to a goal. So it could be a long day against Villa. And if we lost by 2, 3, would I be surprised? Probably not. And I suppose to finish up, again, kind of drawing comparison to my Chelsea friend, initially I was getting very angry. And I was ranting, I was raving, I was shouting at telly, I was typing profanities in watch-alongs at what was happening. And by second half, I got to the point where I didn't care. I was just like, okay. And when you get to the point where you're not caring about the team that you pretty much spent your entire life watching, since you can remember watching football, that's a very sad, depressing thought. Because Manchester United Football Club should be something that you enjoy, looking forward to every weekend, every midweek game. Win, lose, or draw, that you're going, right, we're ready for this game, we'll take it on, and if you play well and lose, you kind of have to sure, if you're on a YouTube channel, you're going to kind of get nitty-gritty and point to the reason maybe why we didn't score a particular goal or why we what we could have done to stop a particular goal, but you're kind of enjoying the analysis of it. You're enjoying the prospect of, oh, we're back out again now on Thursday night. Let's get after this. Let's talk about this game that's coming up. But we spent the last 45 minutes talking about everything that's wrong with Manchester United football.
Yeah, we did. And just to make you know, I'm going to triple captain Ollie Watkins on Sunday. Sorry, I'm definitely doing it. And just to fill your heart with more hope, Rebel. Porto are currently sitting second in the Portuguese league with a goal difference of 13. So they've only played 7 games. They've won 6, lost 1. They have scored 16 and conceded 3 in 7 games.
Isn't that where the Brighton striker came from too, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
So if they are still scoring like that, and Evanson or what? No, it's not Brighton. It's Bournemouth. He's gone to. But
yeah, I know you're on about. Yeah, I know you're on about
Evanson or the Brazilian.
However you pronounce his name, yeah.
Like he was their goal scoring chief. He left them, and they're still doing those stats that you said. Like, I fear for us. Colin is all I'll say.
Well, their current star, Galeno, is called. He's 26 years old. He's played 7 and scored 5. Yeah, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy indeed. Final say on this show today, Rebel. I'm sure we're going to be back again talking about what's happening next at some point in the future, probably next week. Does Ten Hag make it past Monday?
No.
I don't think it does either. But that's going to wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Moss, and obviously I saw... Who else was it that I saw in the chat? King's Football Show. And anybody else that has been watching, thank you so much. Rebel, where can people find you, mate, for your wonderful words of wisdom?
Well, here on the Man United Spotlight, my Twitter is at Kerry_Rebel, if anybody wants to follow that. But yeah, either here or on there. And sometimes I get distracted and start talking gaming on other gaming channels that are associated with this channel.
Yeah, we are going to bring out more shows. We're going to start becoming a lot more regular. It's been absolutely mental, you know. But we are going to bring out more content and everything. You can find me here as well, over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, FTSN Colm. You can find me on FTSN. You'll see me on time to time on the on THFC Till I Die as well, because I do their tactics show for them, because apparently they like that stuff. And obviously the gaming channel as well, Double Double Gaming. Make sure you go check that out. So yeah, thank you, everybody. Again, we will be back. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about. Probably cry a little as well after we probably get 9 goals shoved past us in the next 2 games. But for now, thank you all so much, and we will catch you later.